All right, so welcome Skip Cohen to this month's edition of my blog Connection Corner. Hey Skip, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. It is
Good.
great to catch up to you. It's a lot more fun when we catch up live at a convention, and I love the fact that we're all getting back to normal when it comes to Imaging USA and WPPI and anything else on the planet.
Absolutely. I mean, the connections we made at those events are just super important. Throughout your career, you've been very passionate about helping photographers and creative in a whole. What's driving that passion you have for us creative?
Oh, I guess well, first of all, it starts out with the fact that um, I have very little artistic ability. I can't draw. I there was a short time in my life where I wanted to be a painter and I couldn't. I can't paint. I could paint houses. I could paint my walls. So it starts with the unbelievable quest I have to live vicariously through all of you guys who are artists who
Mhm.
do understand photography. Now I understand more than I let on, but my passion has always been the business and marketing side.
Mhm.
But to answer your question a little better, if I look back over my career, there were so many people that helped me along the way. Just incredible. Not talking just photographers, but going back about it's probably about 8 or 9 years ago. My wife and I were back in our hometown, and I was able to um, meet a couple of old teachers. One of them headed up the yearbook committee
Mhm.
and who technically published my first photograph. And the first thing, he also had the school newspaper. So the first thing I ever wrote. So it's those people that have supported me for so many years and planted those seeds of inspiration early on that I couldn't appreciate more. And when you're sitting there with for example, Mr. Stanley, my high school photography teacher,
Mhm.
to be able to talk to him about what I was now doing and having been active in the industry, and be able just to say to him, "Hey, I want to thank you for the opportunity you gave me back when that I really didn't appreciate." It was a way to get out of other classes and go work in the dark room with whatever music you wanted to play and crank the stereo up. It had little to do with photography, but it's all about people that were supportive and helped me. I worked for somebody years ago at Polaroid, and I used to refer to him as um, he gave me enough rope to hang myself, but he put a chair underneath me if he saw the rope getting a little tight.
Just in case to help
So
you out.
yeah, just in case I was headed down the wrong path.
Mhm.
And when I look at so many of you out there, there are so many great photographers out there who gave up when they were 1 foot from the finish line. And there's a quote out there, something to that effect of by Vince Lombardi, I think. They gave up. They got stressed out, and they were so close. They had the skill set down,
Mhm.
but it doesn't do you any good to have the skill set if people aren't coming to see your work and they didn't understand marketing and business. And that was something that I was very fortunate in getting help from some great people in my Polaroid days,
Mhm.
starting out in marketing and understanding things better so that I could take that and say, all right, what if we did it this way and this way for an entrepreneur getting started in the photography business?
You mentioned that you know they were there for you to kind of guide you through that process. And one thing from talking to photographers now is I understand that a lot of us don't really get the business or the marketing aspect of it. We can shoot night and day, have it down, but then it comes to the business portion, and that's where some of us are failing. How can
That's
we better grasp the whole pieces together, like the business,
well,
the marketing, the photography portion, put all of it together to be better at what we do?
Well, Jerry Guionis, who's considered one of the very best wedding photographers in the world, did a program for me. I was doing a thing called the Akron Photo Series when we lived in Ohio.
Hmm.
And Jerry came in for the day and did an evening program. And then the next day, it was just I think there were about 20 people all total. It was meant to be a small workshop.
Mhm.
And all the proceeds went back to Akron Children's Hospital. So it wasn't money coming that he was making or I was making. And he said to everybody that the way we all get started in photography as professional photographers is wrong. What we should do is go out and just shoot for 2 years, be an assistant to another photographer,
Mhm.
shoot for 2 years so that we get the skill set down and
Mhm.
the technical side,
Mhm.
and then be able to start working on your marketing. And he said what happens is we all go out and kick off our business when we're still learning our skills, and at the same time we don't understand marketing and business.
Mhm.
And he said it's just wrong. He said if you could perfect your skills first and then focus in on your marketing so that you weren't thinking about or worrying about or chimping to
Mhm.
see if you got the shot at a wedding, at a portrait session, landscape, wildlife, whatever you were doing.
Mhm.
He said, then you'd be more in control of the business and marketing side. Now, in terms of everybody that's out there now and they've been shooting, they've got their skill set down, but they still haven't figured out the marketing.
Mhm.
Dean Collins said 20 years ago, and this is dating me and Dean's expertise at the time. He said, all you need to do to be a professional photographer is have a roll of duct tape and take out a Yellow Pages ad. Now, today, nobody knows what the Yellow Pages are anymore. At least the younger generation doesn't.
Yeah.
But that's part of the challenge there. So in terms of getting help, there is so much help out there. I got into a nice argument over lunch with Sarah Petty. Sarah Petty is probably 10, 12 years ago. And we
Mhm.
were arguing whether photographers were the worst business group on the planet, and the fact that 95% of photographers, I think she was going 95% and I was going 99%,
Mhm.
were terrible business people and had no idea if they had made any money that year until they went to their accountant or did their taxes themselves. So you need to look for help. You need to go to those resources. If you look at, and I'm not trying to push everybody into Skip Cohen University.
Mhm.
There's so many of us out there that are writing helpful things. Sarah Petty is a good example.
Mhm.
There's a lot of business support on the Marathon blog
Mhm.
for Marathon Press.
Mhm.
I have it. There's so many different photographers out there that are doing things on marketing and business. Scott Bourne and I wrote a book, oh my God, it must be 10 years ago now,
Mhm.
called Going Pro, which
Mhm.
were things you needed to do. And the challenge is that most of you are right brainers. You're familiar with right brain, left brain?
Yes.
All right. So the right brain means that's the creative side of your brain, and
Creative
your
side.
left brain is the side that pays attention to the operational stuff.
Yeah.
So if you look at how that applies in business, most of your accountants, your CPAs, are going to be left brainers,
Mhm.
and your creative artists are going to be right brain.
Mhm.
And every now and then you meet somebody that's balanced. Not very often. I'm off the chart on the right brain. I've got a little bit going for me on left brain, but I hate doing it.
Yes. That
And the
I hate
problem is, yeah, the problem is you need to respect your skills, and
Mhm.
you need to build your network on people that complement what you're weakest in. For example, on a blog,
Mhm.
I've repeatedly said that if you're going to do a blog, you need to blog at least 3 times a week,
Mhm.
same time, and then promote it in social media or every place you can to
Mhm.
get your readers in there.
Mhm.
Now, so many people have said to me, well, I hate to write. I don't want to write a blog. Well, that's fine. Go to the high school, find a junior. I'd go a junior or senior that gets an A in English, or
Mhm.
maybe even an English teacher. It's summertime now. Everybody's out of school,
Yeah.
and hire them part-time. You're not talking about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a freelance writer. You're
Mhm.
talking about a kid in high school that loves to write, and you're going to sit there and you're going to tell them what to write about. It's like having your own private AI writer, only in this case, it's you talking about what is it I want to share today, and then go into your blog content. Maybe part of that content is going to be, a 10-part series on how to take better pictures for your readers in your community. They're not going to open up down the street and put you out of business, but teach mom and dad how to pose, how to do a little bit of why fill flash, what
Yes.
depth of field means. And you can do that. If you don't want to write about it, that's okay. Find somebody who loves to write, who isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg. And then suddenly you've got content. And if you do it right, you could build up a stash of 10 to 12 pieces. And now you're covered so that one day a week you might do one thing that's live of your own. And another day of the week, you're going to pull something out of the pipeline. The point is that everybody needs help. And there's so many artists out there that just feel that it's a kick in the ass if they don't ask for help. It makes them look bad. No, it doesn't. It means you recognize your short suits.
Yeah.
It's the same way if somebody wants to learn lighting, there's total respect if you go to Sue Bryce was doing so much for so long in portrait lighting. Or you're doing a lot of great stuff, or Bobby Lane or Tony Corbell.
Or
Nobody's embarrassed.
Matthew Jordan Smith.
Oh, Matthew Jordan Smith.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got all these people out there to teach lighting, but nobody wants to take a program on business and marketing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, Don Blair in the old days, Don Blair would get 300 people standing room only as he photographed a sexy bride, and Skip Cohen down the hall would get 12 people for a marketing workshop. And I get it, and I understand it. Today, that doesn't happen so much, but it's still a stigma when somebody realizes, wow, do I need help? And then they keep procrastinating because something comes along. You get that one client, and it's like sinking a 30-foot putt. You get that one client and it gets you excited and they pay on time and everything is great. But you don't want just one client. You want the second, third, and fourth, and you want that first client. Anybody can get their first client. You want that first client to tell all their friends and insist that they come work with you.
Absolutely.
Sorry, there are no short answers to any of this, Lenward.
It's okay, because that way people have a better understanding of what it takes, to get there.
Yep.
Absolutely. So Platypod, one of my favorite.
Mine too.
How did this Platypod came about, kind of disrupt the industry? It's very innovative products. What can you share with us about how it all got started?
I can share a lot. The story, I think the story is kind of fascinating. Larry and his wife Minna are on vacation out west somewhere, and Larry realizes he doesn't want to carry a tripod. Now, the first thing you have to know about Larry and why we call him Dr. T, he really is a doctor. He is a full-time pediatrician all week long. He sees patients Sunday through Thursday afternoon. Friday is his day to do Platypod, and Saturday is his day off. And going back to being a kid, Larry told me a story once about he wanted his first camera, and his father said, I'll tell you what, I'll get you a camera when you learn everything in this book. And I'm guessing his father handed him one of those 4-inch resource guides with everything he wanted to know about photography. And he said, learn everything in the book and I'll get you a camera. Well, Larry did learn everything in the book. And it was really embarrassing because when I first started with Larry 4 years ago, I wanted to get a great hero shot of our product line at the time, and we didn't have one. We had all these individual shots. And I said to Larry, just so you know, I'm going to see if I can chase down a couple of buddies. In fact, the two people I was going to chase down were Nick Vidros in Kansas City and Tony Corbell. And I figured I could talk one of them into, I could weasel a hero shot of those products that we could use on the website. And Larry said to me, why don't you let me shoot it in my basement? I'll do it this weekend. And stupidly, I said, Larry, let me get a real photographer to do this. Well, he sent me to his SmugMug page. I had no idea what his skill set was.
Wow.
I thought he was a pediatrician that had a great idea for a product, being the Platypod, and that was it. Had no idea that he was actually a photographer long before he finished med school. And there isn't anything that, well, I'll put it this way, there's very little that he doesn't know. There's certainly nothing that I've ever caught him on. He understands lighting, he understands lenses, he understands the product, he understands the challenges photographers have for creating a different perspective.
Mhm.
And that's where Platypod got started. We work with a great engineer out in Utah who will take Larry's ideas and work on them and turn them into live products like Platyball, like the current Kickstarter program that's on right now for the handle that goes until the end
Yeah.
of May. They're all phenomenal products, and they come out of Larry's head and wind up being reality. And again, it goes back to his passion for photography and imaging. And if tomorrow he wanted to get out of being a pediatrician and open up his studio, um, there'd be a lot of photographers in trouble in New Jersey.
Wow. Absolutely.
He
I
knows
love
his
these
stuff.
products. I
Yeah.
love these products. But I didn't realize he was actually a photographer. I knew he was a doctor, but I didn't
Oh
realize he
no.
was a photographer.
Yeah, when you come up and you meet Larry in the booth and he starts talking to you about what you're shooting, how you're shooting.
Mhm.
In fact, if you tune into any of the go into well, easiest way would be to go to Platypod's channel on YouTube,
Mhm.
and we have all the webinars he's done for Kelby programs for
Mhm.
Kelby One, and all of those online programs. In every one of them, Larry shares images from photographers that are featured.
Mhm.
In fact, you had one in this recent program for Lightroom.
Yeah.
Attend, yeah, it was the Lightroom conference.
Yeah.
But whether it's iPhone, travel photography, wildlife photography, portrait photographer, lighting,
Mhm.
every single one of those, Larry will be sharing images from other photographers, but then he'll almost always be showing one or two images of his own, not to show his own work, but to show the backstory of what's the behind the scenes shot.
Yeah.
What did I do to get this shot? How did I set it up in my basement, for example? How did I light this with just one light and a reflector? How did I use a couple of goosenecks and lumicubes? And he'll take those and put them together. So it becomes an experience in terms of Larry teaching photography and lighting. At the same time, he's talking about, photographers like you, Ledworth, and what you've done. And
Absolutely.
that we had a product shot of yours I know we used
Yeah.
in the recent Lightroom program.
Yeah. I saw it on the promo. It was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's pretty exciting.
Well,
Yeah.
it was good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't see anybody featured there that, just did a ho hum average shot.
Yeah.
It's all each of you that have been involved are all making your own contribution in terms of being an influencer and getting, especially younger photographers today who
Yes.
really don't have a full appreciation for the skill set. At some point or another, I love it when somebody says to me they're a natural light photographer. Yeah, we all know what that means. It means
Yeah.
they're afraid to learn studio lighting.
Learn to the studio.
Yeah, I mean we're all everybody. Sue Bryce is and started out as a natural light photographer, but she wanted to take her studio images and have them look like natural light. And
Yes, absolutely.
that's the fun of this stuff.
Yeah, it's it develops your skill. You start at one end, you move to the other end, and you just naturally develop. So
Yeah.
you're able to capture varying images.
Yeah.
What's your view in photography today and where it's headed?
All right. I can't do this without a 30-second history of photography.
Okay.
When color came out, all the black and white photographers out there screamed that photography was just going to hell. It's not going to be the same anymore. And when digital came out, everybody that was shooting film was worried, oh my God, now it's digital. And you take each one of those steps all along the way, and odds are somebody who's worried today about AI, for example, if you trace their lineage back, it's their great great grandfather that was upset that we were going to color as
Mhm.
opposed to just good solid black and white.
Yeah.
From my perspective, as good as AI will become and is becoming,
Mhm.
you still are going to need, if for those photographers that do this right, the client still needs help in capturing those memories of their family. The commercial client still needs a certain level of support. And how do I light this? how do I make it work? How do I tweak AI
Yeah.
so that I have the look and lighting that I have? I mean, I remember so many people upset that all right, look at what Photoshop is going to do. Photoshop and digital are going to turn well, the guys at Kodak used to call them Debbie Digitals or soccer moms,
Yeah.
which is so disrespectful anyway, because there's some soccer moms out there that are phenomenal
Absolutely.
shooters.
Yeah.
The difference is that it's a hobby for them. They're not out to make money out of it, but they want to capture great images of their kids. And you've got a lot of professionals today that are children's photographers because of how they started with their own kids.
Mhm.
So you've got that fear out there of it's a fear of change. Now, I could be minimizing it, but I have been around long enough. I started out in the film days. I I lived through and have friends. We all lived through the change to digital.
Phases, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Calumet in Chicago, furious over autofocus when Nikon announced that they weren't going to do any manual focus lenses anymore.
Mhm.
And they were actually stupid enough to take the Nikon logo, put a circle around it with the crossbar
Mm.
through it. That red circle with the
Yeah.
bar.
Yeah.
Now, 3 months later, 6 months later, it was gone, and I think they probably felt pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But the issue was photographers being upset, or Calumet being upset at the time over change.
Mhm.
And maybe to a point, there were a lot of us that were thinking, "Oh my God, autofocus! Now anybody can get a shot."
Mhm.
But if you think about your greatest images, um, you didn't shoot. You didn't shoot in P mode.
No.
You played with your depth of field.
Yes.
Now there are those of us that are grateful for IA or P mode, intelligent auto or P mode.
Yeah.
That's for us and I do shoot more like a serious hobbyist.
Mhm.
Now, when I want to get a great shot, I know enough of what I'm doing to take the time and drag the shutter, to change my exposure, to play with the aperture and depth of field. So I know that stuff, but I don't make a living at it. My passion, again, is that business and marketing side.
Is on mark.
So my view going forward is that the world is still going to need the creative leadership to work with clients on how they're going to present it. Now, does that mean that your world is going to stay the same? No, your world, Lenworth, it is going to change.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's going to
yeah.
change, and I don't think AI will stop photographers from making money. I look at it as a tool. So, you could probably do combinations, maybe try to mix your AI with your photography. It's like a Photoshop. You look at it as a tool to evolve your work, not as a threat. So that's my view on it, because it's not going anywhere. It's going to be here to stay.
Well, again, the technology is not going to stand still. In fact, it isn't too long ago that I had a conversation with Chris Blair, who did the Kickstarter video for the
Mhm.
handle as well as Platyball.
Mhm.
And Chris was talking about the quality out of his iPhone and
Absolutely.
commented that the quality out of his iPhone is not too far away from being good enough that he can shoot a feature video on his iPhone instead of a conventional camera or whatever gear he's using. In fact, I think most of what he shoots is on Lumix.
Oh, okay.
So that's all part of the technology. Now, Sheila and I both have iPhones, and we can get some great images. But do we know what we're doing enough to sell them or do something with?
Mhm.
Probably not. We're not going to take if I need a product shot, for example,
Mhm.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to call Tony Corbell. I'm going to call any one of you guys to say, hey, this is what we need,
Mhm.
because I don't know the right way to position it. Now, that means that
Yeah.
for photographers out there, you got to stay cutting edge.
Yes.
Scott Bourne is a good example. He's been playing with AI lately
Mhm.
and sharing a lot of those images on Facebook, because Scott is an early adapter. He will always jump on new things, whether it's adapter or adopter.
Mhm.
He will always jump on things that are new because it's all part of education, which
Yeah.
is why so many of us always say you never get to stop learning.
Yeah, it's a learning
Yeah.
process. Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go.
All right.
One thing that will describe Skip Cohen.
He's nuts. Over the years, I think Tony Corbell used to call everybody a knucklehead. And that was when he used the word knucklehead, it was a compliment. That's how I use it.
Yeah.
I'm a knucklehead. I love what I do. I love this industry. I love trying to help photographers. You've got photographers out there that understand what they need. You've got others who can't get out of their own way, no matter what they do. And it's that passion they have that I love and cherish and have lived vicariously through you guys for so long. I didn't go out on my own until 2009.
Mhm.
It doesn't change the fact that I had some pretty impressive jobs prior to that. It was pretty exciting being president of Hasselblad in the US and being president of Rangefinder WPPI. But the truth is that in 2009, when I decided I wanted to go out on my own, I remember Sheila saying to me, "What are you afraid of?" And my answer was, "I'm afraid of failing." And when you get over that fear of failing, it doesn't mean that you can't be nervous when you make a decision, but it's all about being a knucklehead. If you're nuts enough to love this business, and I do, and you do,
Mhm.
and if you look at a lot of our mutual friends, they also do.
They also do.
Yeah, it's all about watching each other's backs. It's about helping each other, and it's just about loving what we do. And in all honesty, and I know this, I start to sound like a magazine article reading itself because
Mhm.
I've said it so many times. With the exception of modern medicine, there isn't another career field that's given the world more than photography has, than imaging has. Let's put it all together.
Yeah.
You know, think about what a newspaper would look like today, or an online publication would
Yeah.
look like today
Without no imaging.
without photographs.
Yeah. It's pretty
Yeah,
boring.
everything would look like an artist in the back of a jury
Mhm.
doing sketches where cameras weren't allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this month, and really look forward in talking with you again. Now, before you go, can you tell us like where we can find more about you, your social media?
Everything that I write is at skipcohenuniversity.com. I'm Skip Cohen on Facebook. I'm Skip Cohen on Twitter. If you've got a question on Platypod, I'm service@platypod.com or skip@platypod.com. The Platypod blog has a lot of good content information on it. And I'm at every possible convention I can get to as we start to get back to the norm. Probably my next one will be Louisville, Kentucky with Imaging USA in January.
Absolutely. Looking forward to see you
Yeah.
there. All right. Thank you, Skip.
Hey, thank you, Lenworth. Oh, I'll get one more. If anybody's got any big questions, write to me at skip@mei and the number 500.com. Happy to help. And if you're stuck, please remember you got a whole bunch of knuckleheads like us that are out there to give you a hand.
Absolutely. We're here to help.
All right.